A Pokemon Nuzlocke is a challenge where I add rules to a typical Pokemon playthrough to make it a little bit harder. I can't revive my Pokemon if they faint, no items like X items or potions in battle, and I can only catch one Pokemon per area like a route or a city. Today, I'm going to beat Pokemon Y using only Poison-type Pokemon, and to make it even harder, I can't use one of the main features of the game, Mega Evolution. Let's get into it. We wake up, peep the fit. Then we get to pick our starter with our friend group. We've got Zeus from Gravity Falls, childhood friend that always loses, pick your favorite, Dexter just after his laboratory money runs out, and Serena. Since none of the starters in this game become poison types, I just choose Chespin so that Serena has a psychic type Delphox later on, just because I hate myself, I guess. Since we don't have a real eligible encounter yet, I'm just going to skip to the point where we do. So let's head inside Santaloon Forest. Here, we can find and catch a Weedle named Poison Ivy. Even though she is already a poison type, Weedle is a Weedle. So I quickly evolve her into Kakuna, then head through the only mandatory trainer until we reach Santaloon City, home of the first gym. We beat up this roller girl outside the gym, and now we're forced to skate around on our own roller skates for the entire game. I hate these things, by the way. I always just miss doors and stuff. Thank God they're off inside the gym though, so let's head inside, evolve Kakuna into Beedrill, and challenge Viola for gym badge number 1 of the run. Viola leads with Surskit, and I lead with Beedrill, my only option. Our best attacking move is the multi-hit Fury attack, so we press it and hope for the best. 2 hits. Awesome. At least Surskit just used Water Sport, so we're still at full HP. Fury attack time. How many times is this gonna hit? 3. Okay, could be worse, I guess. Bubble does 6 damage to Beedrill, but that could actually matter later on. Viola heals next turn, but Beedrill comes in clutch, firing off a 5-hit Fury attack to bring Viola's lead down in 1 shot. Or 5 shots? That leaves her with only her ace Pokemon, Vivillon. We level up to 13 after Surskit, which is allowed in my rules by the way, so Beedrill learns the move Focus Energy, which gives us a chance to boost our critical hit rate. After we tank 1 Infestation, which does static damage every turn by the way, we use a Focus Energy, and now we've got that increased crit rate. It actually comes in clutch right away, since after Beedrill tanks another Infestation for light damage, our Fury attack gets a 5 hit, including 2 crits, bringing the Butterfly down to the yellow. After tanking 1 more light infestation, we go for another Fury attack. That does get 2 crits, but it only hits 3 times, leaving Vivillon with a sliver of HP. No big deal, Beedrill can totally safely survive another infestation, then we fire off 1 last Fury attack, winning us the battle and the first gym badge of Kalos. That was really annoying, but I'm glad we're gonna get some more team members pretty soon. Time for a big long stretch of 14 named locations before we get to fight our next gym battle. We meet Viola's hot sister, Call Me, then we grab our next encounter on Route 4, a Badoo named Akame. Since it's a friendship evolution, I quickly get a Roselia on the team, but since I've abused Roserade in every recent Gen 6 video I've done, we're not going to see too much of her. We meet Sycamore's 2 servants, or interns, same thing. Then we meet the man himself at his lab. After winning a quick battle, we get offered a Kanto starter, and we can actually use one of them. Crollo, the Bulbasaur. Well, he's an Ivysaur immediately, but you know what I mean. The Nepo Baby and Incel meet each other and argue in public. Very cinematic. Then we head to Route 5 and grab a Gulpin. Don't say it. Pretty solid utility moves with Encore and Yawn, so maybe we'll use him. Zeus gets stomped into the ground, we grab some orange berries to mass produce in a few minutes, then we arrive in Camphreer Town, where all we do is literally get told, Mega what now? We're gonna need a Poke Flute to wake up Snorlax, so we head up to Route 7, grab a Venipede, get scammed by the upper class, what else is new, then watch a fireworks show in the middle of the day before we can wake up Snorlax. Using the Thief TM we got earlier, we can steal its held Citrus Berry before we run away, then we can use the berry fields just south of here to secure an infinite supply of them. Serena and I roll these side characters, then we grab 2 encounters, one of which will be in every single fight, and one of them is Krogunk. Yeah, listen man, I think you're swaggy, but come on. Route 8 nets us a Seviper, a Pokemon I haven't really used that much honestly. Then we get to Ambret Town, another stop that doesn't have a gym in it. Fossil Guy says that Mega Evolutions are related to fossils, that's cap by the way. Then we go to the Glittering Cave, speedrun it as fast as possible, then finally get to the home of gym number 2, Sillage City. Let's get to another gym badge because I'm tired of waiting. Grant leads with Amora and I lead with Krogunk. A Thunder Wave paralyzed my already slow fighting type. Then we fire off a 4 times super effective Revenge, and without even the double damage boost, we still get a 1-shot KO super easily. Last up for the rock type gym leader is the other fossil of Kalos, Tyrant. A Stomp doesn't flinch us, thank God. Then our now boosted Revenge brings the dragon type down to the red. Grant heals, but we break through paralysis and hit another revenge for a little bit less than half. I decide to say fuck it and stay in here, tank another stomp down to 8 HP before Citrus Berry recovery, then fire off another revenge, breaking through flinch and paralysis to finish off Grant's final Pokemon. That's 2 badges down, and we really waited all that time just for that sorry excuse of a gym fight? Fuck you, Grant. Team Flare, more like Team Barely a Challenge. Geosenge Town, a conspicuous town with a cool centerpiece that definitely isn't going to be important later. Corinna fights us with her 2 power-up punch Lucarios, which don't threaten us at all, since they kind of just spam their only neutral damage move, Faint. On Route 11, we have an equal chance at either Nido or a Stunky. We roll Nidoking here, which is pretty nice for an electric gym later in the future, but I think the Psychic type immunity would have done big things for us. Reflection Cave is an insane place, since in some runs, you just get destroyed by a random trainer, and in some it's super easy. Here, I don't really have too much of a problem, but you gotta keep that in mind if you're gonna do your own Nuzlocke. Shalour City, home of NPCs, can you leave me alone? I'm trying to appreciate the scenery. We've got to battle Serena here to prove that we're worthy of a Mega Bracelet, and I lost my Seviper to Braxton. Wait, Braxton? Whatever. Listen, I thought that it wasn't fully evolved yet, so it wouldn't be that strong, and I was wrong. Losing a mono poison type isn't the end of the world, but listen, man, I got trapped in my fire spin. It was bullshit. At least we won the fight, but there goes 2 of my Pokemon. Thankfully, we've got a nice confidence booster coming up, so let's head inside the Shalour City Gym and take on the 3rd leader of Kalos, Corinna. Corinna leads with Mienfoo, and I lead with Crobat. It uses Fake Out, hoping for some free damage with a flinch, but thanks to our Inner Focus ability, we don't. So Crobat is free to fire off a wing attack for the one-shot KO. Second up is Machoke, who's got super effective Rock Tomb for my flying type. I feel totally fine staying in here. So after a wing attack leaves Machoke in the red, a Rock Tomb connects, doing less than half, but dropping our speed. I'll save you guys the time here. Corinna just spams healing items, but since we're faster, this literally just wastes our time. Shalour City's gym leader is left with only her ace, Hawlucha. A 4 times resisted power-up punch does basically nothing to us, then a wing attack does just over 50%, basically ending the battle right there. It does use Flying Press for a bit of damage, activating our Citrus Berry, but in the end, 1 more wing attack does the job, and we've got our 3rd gym badge of the run. On to the next. Now that we've taken down his daughter, the Mega Evolution Master has one final task for us. Taking down his daughter. Wait, what the fuck? Yeah, well, whatever. We're gonna reject the gift Lucario, but we're gonna keep the Mega Bracelet because drip? We grab Surf from Serena, then use it on the gift Lapras to surf around in Shalour to get our next encounter. Deep Sea King, the Tentacool. Or I guess the Tentacruel? The Go-Goat route doesn't matter, so we're quickly into Comarine City, home of the 4th gym. Yeah, I know, nice change of pace, right? We get to use the super sick monorail, beat up Serena with our new water type for her starter, then recreate the famous children's cartoon, George of the Jungle, then we can have our 2nd gym battle in a row with a type advantage, as we challenge Ramos and his grass types. Ramos leads with Jumpluff, and I lead with Crobat. Since the last gym battle, Crobat learned Acrobatics, a move that gets its base power doubled up to 110 if you don't have a held item. Combine that with our 4 times resistance to grass moves, and yeah, this one's not going to take too long. Jumpluff gets 1 shot, then Go-Goat barely survives on like 1 HP, but after Ramos heals, I find out that it was a range and Crobat gets another 1 shot. That only leaves Weepinbell, but it can't stand up to my fully evolved flying type. So that's 1 shot KO number 3 of the battle, and Ramos is down. Honestly, I kind of feel bad about it. Time to head back to Lumio City, and anyone who's ever watched me play this game knows what time it is. Time for the worst gauntlet in all of Pokemon, the Kalos Power Plant. Seriously, fuck this place. I literally stayed up and recorded this at like 3 AM because I didn't want to wake up and have this fucking power plant be the first thing I did in the morning. I just abused Acrobatics Crobat until he hit the level cap since my flying type isn't coming to the next gym anyways. Now that that garbage is taken out, we meet AZ and then get back to Lumiose, which finally has the lights on. Nidorino becomes Nidoking, then we meet Clement outside the gym. He brags about being smart or whatever, and we've got to knock him down a peg. Let's do this. Clement leads with Emolga and I lead with Nidoking. An Aerial Ace does like 20 damage to our lead, then we retaliate with a super effective Rock Tomb, bringing Emolga into the yellow and dropping its speed. Somehow, Nidoking is actually faster now, so one more Rock Tomb takes down the Gen 6 Pikachu clone, and Clement brings out his second Pokemon, Magneton. I grab Dig from the Shalour City Pokemart, so we outspeed and hide underground as Magneton sets up electric terrain. Our 4 times super effective Dig brings the electric steel type down to sturdy, letting it survive on 1 HP, before it retaliates with a fairly strong mirror shot, making us use our citrus berry. Clement heals, so I take this chance to use a power-up punch, boosting our attack by 1 and breaking sturdy. That leaves the door wide open for our ground type to use dig again, and this time it takes down Magneton. That leaves Clement with only his ace, Heliolisk, left on the team. Its only neutral move on us is Quick Attack, so after we tank one for like 15 damage, Nidoking goes underground with Dig, then we take down the final Pokemon of the battle. With that, we're over halfway through the Kalos Gym Challenge. Our next stop is Route 14, which I definitely recorded properly, and I didn't need to re-record after during the edit. We catch a Weeping Bell that I didn't record, but hey, look, it's Laver City. You know what else is in Laver City? The 6th gym of Kalos. Valerie leads with Mawile, and I lead with Nidoking. Valerie's lead has an interesting moveset, so we're going to take advantage of it. A power-up punch does a little bit of damage to the fairy type, then a crunch does about a quarter. We repeat this on the next turn, then at +2, Nidoking uses Dig, bringing down Mawile pretty easily and bringing out the troublesome Pokemon of the fight, Mr. Mime. Since I know this thing basically always wants to put the screens up before attacking, I needed the attack boost from earlier to KO this through Reflect. The King of the Nidos secures a one-shot KO on the scariest Pokemon of this battle. Last up for Valerie is her ace, the newest evolution, Sylveon. A Poison Jab brings the Fairy type down to the yellow, then a Swift brings Nidoking into the yellow as well, activating his held Citrus Berry. From here, Valerie wastes our time healing, but after a few turns, another Poison Jab finishes off Sylveon, and we've won Gym Badge number 6 of Kalos. Kalos' evil team makes one of the best decisions in Pokemon villain history, targeting the Pokeball factory. Listen, if you want to take over a country, you gotta target their domestic manufacturing. A region based on France is getting taken over? Feels a little bit on the nose, right? Route 15 finally nets us our Psychic type immunity in Skorupi, who quickly evolves into the Dark type, Drapion. After that, inside the Lost Hotel, we get a Pokemon that's appearance definitely matches its stats, Trubbish. Yeah, we'll probably never see her again. In Dendemil Town, Professor Sycamore does an ad read for Lysander Cafe. Then we head off to the Frost Cavern to save a bullied Abomasnow. Here, we grab potentially one of our best encounters, Haunter. Another ground type immunity, plus we have super fast, super effective moves into psychic types? Sounds great. Abomasnow says, "Snow," and I assume that means thank you. Then we ride his friend Mamoswine to Anastar City, home of the 7th gym. We gotta fight Serena outside here, and Drapion really helps against her new part psychic type, Delphox. But we still risk a pretty big crit on Crobat. It didn't punish us, so that was super easy, and I'm never gonna think about it ever again. It's time for probably the hardest gym battle in Kalos for us. I'm gonna need Drapion to do some major work here. Let's take on the Psychic type master, Olympia. Olympia leads with Sigilyph, and I lead with Gengar. Since we're faster here, and this is pretty free, a super effective Shadow Ball gets us a one-shot KO on the lead Pokemon. Second up is Slowking, so I swap out into my Psychic type immunity, Drapion, who takes no damage coming in. A Night Slash brings the Gen 2 evolution to the red, then a Calm Mind boosts stats that it's not going to be able to use to survive this. Olympia wastes our time healing, but after a few turns, Slowking falls and Olympia sends out her final Pokemon, Meowstic. A Fake Out wastes our first turn, but if you look at its moveset, Olympia's ace doesn't have any move to do real damage to us. It sets up a Calm Mind, but a super effective Night Slash brings it down to the red. From here, a resisted Shadow Ball barely does anything, then we finish off the battle with another Night Slash. The Psychic type gym is down, and at this point, can anybody stop us? 7 badges of Kalos, and you know what that means. It's time for the entire plot of the game to happen right fucking now, so let's get this over with. I'm gonna focus on the Lysander fights here, since those are really the only difficult ones when you have a full team, unlike in my X-only run where every single admin was kind of a nightmare. The first battle against Lysander isn't too bad, since 2 of his 4 Pokemon aren't fully evolved, but in the second battle, things get a little trickier. His Gyarados has Earthquake, which threatens a lot of my Pokemon, namely my Drapion, who I used to deal with earlier. I end up losing Swaloth here to Earthquake, mostly because I forgot it had it. Then in the final battle, I end up sacrificing Venusaur to save some team members that I think will be more valuable later on. The big crystal gun thing, I don't know, I didn't read the fucking cutscene. I don't know what's going on. All that matters is it's done and we can move on with our lives. Route 18 is basically useless, so let's skip straight to Kuraway Town. We fight Sycamore with all 3 Kanto starters here, which isn't too bad. I wish they all had Megastones and he'd randomly evolve one. I think that'd be pretty sweet. All that's left to do is take on the famous Rival Bridge Gauntlet, one of my favorite sections in this game. It starts with a battle against Shauna, who's got a tough team minus the Delcatty that she starts with. Nidoking stacks up a bunch of power-up punches with with little to no risk. Then Gengar's Dazzling Gleam does surprisingly little to Goodra before Crobat finishes it off with acrobatics. Finally, Greninja eats a U-turn, then I swap into Drapion, who basically hardwalls it thanks to Shell Armor. 1 of 3 down, and next up is Tierno, who's got a couple scary Pokemon. He leads with Talonflame, and I lead with Nidoking. It Swords Dances on the first turn, not awesome. Then a Poison Jab does over half, but Flame Body activates, burning our ground type. Well, I was thinking I could take 1 attack, then KO, but with our damage cut in half, that's not even gonna happen. It was never gonna work because acrobatics just one-shots us anyways, but I would have at least liked a chance. Well, I knew there was a possibility, no big deal. Gengar comes in and... Wait, Gengar isn't a fast Pokemon anymore? Am I old? Well, there goes another one of my Pokemon. Crobat finished the job with an acrobatics and gets burned. So now I'm a little stressed, especially because Crawdon is second, also sporting Swords Dance. Crobat's damage is basically nothing now, so I swap into Tentacruel as a Swords Dance boosts Crawdon to +2 attack. An Acid Spray drops its special defense by 2, then a Night Slash makes me regret my decision. Well, it's using a resisted dark move, so I swap into Battle Armor Drapion on a Crab Hammer that one-shot KOs it. My reads are terrible today. I bring in Toxicroak, who in hindsight I should have just brought in the first place. A Power-Up Punch does huge damage, then a Crab Hammer does nothing because Toxicroak is immune to it thanks to Dry Skin. From here, Toxicroak takes down Tierno's second Pokemon and we've really got to lock in. Roserade is last, but it only has Petal Dance. Literally, like not even for attacking moves, like in general, it only has Petal Dance. Toxicroak takes it down, but we're still not out of the woods yet. Trevor heals our team before the battle, but then he sends out his Raichu, and I'm still leading with Nidoking, who's fainted. That means I have to hard swap into Toxicroak because Nidoking can't be used in battle anymore. At least Slam doesn't do too much on that switch. Thunderbolt brings us to the yellow before Citrus Berry, then a Power-Up Punch does like a quarter and gets a Static Para, because of course it does. Another Thunderbolt brings us into the red, and we... Of course. Sure, let's kill a 4th Pokemon. Why not? See you later, Goat. Now I've only got Crobat and Tentacruel, both of which are weak to Raichu, and I'm gonna need Crobat to do some heavy lifting. Bite brings Raichu into the yellow, then a Nuzzle does a bit of damage and paralyzes us. That means we're slower now, so a super effective Thunderbolt brings our best Pokemon to the yellow before we break through paralysis and get a KO with Bite. Trevor sends out his Aerodactyl next, and Crobat needs some help here. I bring in Tentacruel, and he tanks a pretty light Ancient Power on the switch. On the next turn, we get confused by a Supersonic that obviously has a hit. At least we break through it and hit a Surf for some really solid damage though. After Aerodactyl wastes some time using Skydrop, Tentacruel snaps out of confusion and finishes off the fossil Pokemon with another Surf. That leaves Trevor with only Florges left, and its Fairy and Grass type moveset should be something that we can handle. Unfortunately, Tentacruel's only poison move is Acid Spray, so I need to get some damage first. I swap to Crobat as it sets up a Misty Terrain, and now all we've got to do is survive this incoming Moonblast. Oh, 8 HP. Holy shit. We break through a paralysis and hit an acrobatics, but that still doesn't get us a KO. That's fine though, since now I can swap back to Tentacruel on a Moonblast totally safely, then finish off the final Pokemon of the gauntlet with a Surf. We suffered some heavy losses and I played so bad, but hey, the run's still alive. Snowbell City, home of the last gym of Kalos. We need some more encounters ASAP, so let's go get some. On Route 19, we can grab an Arbok in a horde, and by using Roselia's Stun Spore, we can figure out which one has Intimidate and which one has Shed Skin. So once we do, we add an Intimidate one to the team. On Route 20, or the Winding Woods, the funny Imposter Pokemon gets added to the team as well. I force Wulfric back to his gym, and now it's time to test our almost entirely new team here against the Ice-type Master of Kalos. Wulfric leads with Abomasnow, and I lead with Tentacruel. We outspeed and use Acid Spray, doing a bit of damage and dropping its special defense by 2, before a neutral energy ball does around a third. I kinda ignored that I dropped my special defense, so instead of getting a KO, I set up a layer of Toxic Spikes, before another energy ball doesn't scare me at all. At least we have a Citrus Berry to get us some recovery. From here, Sludge Wave brings down the Part Grass type, and Wulfric brings out his defensive monster, Avalugg. I swap to Roserade, who's only making an appearance for this battle, as Avalugg boosts its attack and defense with Curse. Lucky for us, Avalugg has basically no special defense at all, so we stay in and use Giga Drain, which actually doesn't get a KO like I thought it would, leaving Avalugg in the red. We don't get punished since it went for a Curse, but that definitely would have been bad. I'll fast forward here since Wulfric spams Hyper Potions now, but eventually Avalugg goes down, and last up is the opposite of the last Pokemon, Cryogonal. This ice type is really specially defensive with no physical defense. I swapped to Garbodor, making her debut, as the Snowflake sets up the hail again. I kind of forgot that Sludge Bomb wasn't a physical move, so after I waste a bunch of time doing that much damage, I swapped to Arbok on an Ice Beam for less than half. From here, a Confuse Ray might connect, but Arbok breaks through and hits a Poison Jab, securing us a KO and winning us the final gym badge of Kalos. Who's ready for a little bit of Elite Four action? Well, first we've got to get through Victory Road, but even before that, I want to add one more encounter to the team. With the Good Rod in Sillage City, we can fish up a Skrelp named 200 Mountain Dews, who evolves into the Poison Dragon type Dragalge. Pretty solid special tank for the late game. We head through the gates of Victory Road, and while we're here, we have a pretty tough fight against Serena right in the middle. Does Crobat almost die? No, it was easy. Welcome to the Pokemon League, the home of our final challenge in this run. We've got to build up a team of 6 after losing 4 of our best Pokemon just a few minutes ago. So let's do it. First, I'm going to leave Roserade off the team like I mentioned earlier, so the Among Us imposter is going to be joining the team as our grass type. We're also bringing Crobat because of course we are. Same goes with Tentacruel. They were always going to be on the team, so they're sticking around. Next up is our newest team member, Dragalge, who's going to add a little bit of bulk. Arbok is 5th, since Intimidate can help get us out of some unforeseen circumstances, and the final team member will be Scolipede to grab some fast KOs when we can get them. Can these 6 poison types take down the entire Elite Four and champion of Kalos? Let's find out. The first Elite Four member we're going to take on is Seabold and his water types. He leads with Clawitzer, and I lead with Crobat. The Mega Launcher ability does make this a little scary, but since it doesn't have great moves for Crobat, we should win this 1v1. Acrobatics does over half, then a Water Pulse does less than half in return. From here, one more Acrobatics gets us our first KO of the Elite Four. Second up is Seabold's ace, Barbaracle. So I use U-turn for a bit of damage, then swap to Mungus on a Stone Edge for like a quarter. Another Stone Edge brings us below half, and then I find out I didn't give her a Citrus Berry, but we connect with a Spore, putting Barbaracle to sleep. Since this is a guaranteed turn of sleep, I take the chance to use Synthesis to heal us back up to almost full. The Water Rock type sleeps for a second turn, now we can use the 4x super effective Energy Ball and secure a one-shot KO. Third up is Starmie, and since we're still almost at full HP, I risk staying in here, which I get rewarded with because Starmie just used Light Screen, so we can get off a free Spore putting it to sleep. I'll fast forward for a bit, Starmie sleeps for a while, and I keep refreshing the sleep when Seabold uses full restores. After a bit, Starmie goes down to an Energy Ball, and last up for the Water type Elite Four member is Gyarados. I stay in and tank a super effective Ice Fang, which gets a crit, leaving our Grass type at 56 HP before we use a Spore again, putting Gyarados to sleep. I swap to Dragalge safely as Gyarados sleeps, then on the next turn it does wake up, but it uses Dragon Dance, which would be scary if we weren't about to launch a 4x super effective Thunderbolt at it, getting us a one-shot KO and winning us our first Elite Four battle of the run. 3 left to go. Malva is the second Elite Four member on the chopping block, so let's deal with her fire types. She leads with Pyroar and I lead with Dragalge. Since its moveset consists of mostly resisted special moves, I'm going to fast forward through this one since Pyroar just kind of spams Noble Roar, dropping our special attack and making this take forever. Eventually, Surf brings it down, and second up is Torkoal. I swap out to Crobat on an Earthquake that he's immune to, and this is going to be another stall, but hear me out, it's for a good reason. Our Acrobatics isn't quite a 2-shot KO, so Crobat tanks a Stone Edge for just less than half as well. I kinda need this guy just in case for Talonflame in the back, so I use Roost to get rid of our Flying type and recover up, while also taking now neutral damage from Stone Edge. Trust me, you would've got tired of my voice. Third up is Talonflame, so I stay in and tank a critical hit Brave Bird down to 51 HP before I slow U-turn into Arbok, getting her in safely and dropping its attack with Intimidate. At -1, a Flare Blitz doesn't bring Arbok below half, then we fire off a 4x super effective Rock Tomb, taking out Malva's ace and leaving her with only one Pokemon left, Chandelure. I swap into Tentacruel on a Confuse Ray, which makes this battle a little annoying. Luckily, we break through and hit a Surf, taking the Ghost type down to the red as a Shadow Ball barely does a third to our Water type. From here, Tentacruel breaks out of confusion and finishes off the battle with another Surf. We're halfway through the Elite Four, but the next 2 should be kinda tough. Third up in the Kalos Elite Four is Wickstrom and his Steel types. He leads with Klefki and I lead with Scolipede. A super effective Earthquake does about 2/3 to Wickstrom's lead, then the Flash Cannon it hits back with doesn't even come close to threatening us. It uses a last-ditch Torment thanks to Prankster, but we still finish it off with another Earthquake. Second up is Probopass, so I swap to a Mungus on a light Power Gem. We outspeed, which is really rare for this Pokemon, then use Spore, putting Probopass to sleep before it gets to attack. I'll fast forward through the stall again, we stay healthy with Synthesis and keep putting it to sleep with Spore, which if that happened to me, I would probably go crazy. Third up is Scizor, and since my imposter is still at full HP, I stay in, tank an Iron Head for less than half, then use Spore, getting us a free swap on the next turn. I use it to bring in Arbok, who drops Scizor's attack with Intimidate. We outspeed and use Fire Fang, bringing the Bug Steel type down to the yellow, and it stays asleep, making this one pretty free for us. Wickstrom tries to use a full restore to save his bug, but one more crit from Fire Fang finishes off the job, and he's left with only his ace, Aegis-Slash. Arbok is kind of expendable now at this point, so I stay in and use Earthquake, doing about a third before it changes into its sword form and connects with a really powerful Iron Head, leaving Arbok just under half after a Citrus Berry. I swapped a Dragalge on another Iron Head, but after some more Citrus Berry recovery, we should survive another non-crit. It does change back to its shield form, so our first surf doesn't do anything, but after that, it changes to its blade form and hits an Iron Head. That went exactly according to plan. Then a neutral surf brings it down. Okay, never mind. I swap to Amoonguss to tank another Iron Head, which she does, I guess. At this point, I need an advantage, so I make a call. I think it's going to protect this turn, so I use Synthesis. I get the read right, and now my best defensive Pokemon is full HP, and we've secured this battle. After we tank one more Iron Head, an Energy Ball finishes off Aegis-Slash, and we've taken down our third Elite Four member. Only one left to go. Drasna is the final Elite Four member we've got to beat, and I low-key hate her. She was the worst in the anime. You're not a nice granny, you're a mean one. She leads with Dragalge, and I lead with Arbok. A super effective Earthquake does over half to her lead, then a Dragon Pulse in return is kind of embarrassing, honestly. One more Earthquake, and that's a really easy KO. Second up is Noivern, so I swap into Tentacruel on a Dragon Pulse for basically nothing. After tanking one that activates our Citrus Berry, our 4x super effective Ice Beam doesn't get a KO. Okay, yeah, no, cool, that's fine. Yeah, Drasna wastes a lot of our time here, so I'll fast forward, but Tentacruel does need to tank one more Dragon Pulse eventually, but Noivern does go down. Third up is Altaria, so I stay in because it's also 4x weak to ice moves. Do we get a one-shot KO here? No. Well, it doesn't matter since it just missed a Sing, so on the next turn we outspeed and finish off Drasna's third Pokemon. That leaves her with only Druddigon left, and this one shouldn't be too bad. It has Dragon Tail, so my swaps are kind of useless since it'll just force me out anyways. My plan is to swap to Scolipede and just kind of wait for it to send out who I want. Earthquake does some chip on the next turn, then a Dragon Tail sends us out, bringing in Crobat. That works for me, so I use an Acrobatics, leaving Druddigon in the red before we get swapped by Dragon Tail, bringing Scolipede back in. Since we're faster, one more Earthquake finishes off Drasna's final Pokemon, and we've taken down the Kalos Elite Four. Let's go become the champion. Champion Diantha waits for us in her stained glass room, ready to put the title of champion on the line. She leads with Hawlucha, and I lead with Crobat. Just like against Corinna, this thing can't really touch our Poison Flying type, so after tanking a light Poison Jab, a single Acrobatics is enough for the KO on Diantha's lead. Second up is Tyrantrum, so I U-turn into my Sacrificial Lamb, Arbok, who lowers its attack with Intimidate and tanks a Head Smash for... Wow, that was actually pretty weak. After a Citrus Berry, we're above half. Well, let's not get ahead of ourselves. It's not like an Earthquake is gonna... Really? I guess Arbok is sticking around for a little bit longer. Third up is the other fossil Pokemon, Aurorus. Our Earthquake does over half, then the Ice type sets up a Reflect, so we can't get a two-shot anymore. No problem, let's chip it down a little bit. Fire Fang misses, okay. Then a Blizzard misses, okay, cool. Let's just pretend that never happened. Our Fire Fang actually hits on the next turn, doing a bit of damage, but Blizzard missed again? Okay, Arbok's getting lucky, but it's not like an Earthquake KOs from here, right? It actually did? Arbok's like a raid boss right now. Goodra is up fourth, so I use Acid Spray here, dropping its special defense by 2, and then a Dragon Pulse. Dude, someone kill this snake. After another Acid Spray to -4 special defense, the champion fight carry finally falls, leaving a trail of corpses behind her. I bring in Tentacruel to finish this guy off, so we outspeed and fire off a super effective Ice Beam. Bro, what? It's at -4. Maybe my Tentacruel just sucks. A Dragon Pulse doesn't do that much, but like, I'm shocked it survived. I'll fast forward through the healing turns, eventually Goodra does go down, and Diantha sends out her 5th Pokemon, Gourgeist. Okay, I'm also going to fast forward this thing, but I'll explain my phases of trolling. I thought Amoonguss would just win this 1v1, but Trick or Treat made me a Ghost type, so I almost killed the imposter. So then I had to pivot around a little bit, and then I realized, oh yeah, I brought Crobat, who can just abuse Acrobatics. So I just one-shot it after, but I wasted so much time that I'm going to fast forward it. I kind of overcooked it, I don't want to talk about it, but last up for the champion is her Mega Gardevoir, and I already know this thing is going to be a demon. I U-turn out just in case I need to get an outspeed KO later, but that means something has to eat this Psychic, and that something is Scolipede. Sorry Queen, I needed somebody. I bring in Dragalge now, so after tanking a Psychic, holy shit, I thought you would tank that way better, a single Sludge Bomb actually gets a one-shot KO here, winning us the battle and winning us a Pokemon Y Hardcore Nuzlocke with only Poison-type Pokemon. Thanks guys so much for watching this one. I have a love-hate relationship with X and Y, but I think they make for great first-time Nuzlocke games if you're thinking about trying one out. Let me know what other kind of runs you want to see in the comments down below, and I'll see you guys next time.